It was a bright and peaceful afternoon. Maggie sat on the porch of her small house, watching the leaves dance in the gentle breeze. Next to her, curled up in a ball of fluffy grey and black stripes, was Max, her newly adopted cat. "I still can't believe I have a cat," Maggie said softly, reaching out to stroke his soft fur. Max opened one amber eye lazily but didn't move. "You're definitely the laziest cat I've ever seen." Maggie had always been a dog person, but something about Max at the animal shelter had felt right. Maybe it was the way he had calmly stared at her, as if he already knew they'd be friends. "He doesn't meow much either," she thought aloud. "Strange but kind of nice." Max yawned, stretched out dramatically, and settled right back into his nap. Maggie smiled. She had recently moved to this quiet neighborhood, hoping for a fresh start. Her biggest challenge? Learning English. "Ooh, English," she muttered, shaking her head. "Why is it so hard? I try and try, but I always mess up." Looking at Max, she sighed. "At least you don't judge me, right?" The cat flicked his tail as if answering her unspoken question. Maggie knew that this journey with Max would be a comforting one, even if he couldn't understand her struggles. Or so she thought. The next morning, Maggie stood by the kitchen window, sipping a cup of tea. Max sat by her feet, staring at the empty food bowl. "You're hungry again, huh?" she chuckled. "I swear you eat more than I do." She grabbed a small scoop of cat food and poured it into the bowl. Max didn't move. Instead, he kept his intense gaze on her, tail swishing from side to side. "You okay, buddy?" Maggie asked, tilting her head. "What's with the serious look?" Then it happened. "I was waiting for you to say please, you know." Maggie froze, the scoop slipping from her hand and clattering onto the floor. Her heart raced as she stared at Max. Did you just talk?" she whispered, wide-eyed. Max blinked casually. "Of course I talked. You didn't expect me to be just a regular cat, did you?" Maggie stumbled backward, knocking into a chair. "This can't be real. Cats don't talk. Everything's possible if you practice," Max said matter-of-factly. "Isn't that what you always tell yourself about learning English?" Maggie's jaw dropped. You speak English." Max sat up straighter, his amber eyes gleaming. "That's right. Fluent, actually." Still stunned, Maggie muttered under her breath, "I need more sleep." Max flicked his tail. "Or maybe you need more practice." Maggie couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her cat was not only talking, but also giving her advice on learning English. Maggie paced back and forth in the living room, her heart still racing from what she had just witnessed. Max, the lazy cat who barely moved a paw most days, was now perched proudly on the couch, looking entirely too smug. "You seriously talk," Maggie said, narrowing her eyes. "This isn't some weird dream." "Dream or not," Max said with a flick of his tail, "we might as well make it useful." Maggie folded her arms. "Useful how?" "Well," Max began, "you've been struggling with English, right?" Maggie sighed. "That's an understatement. I mess up everything: questions, answers. You name it." Max nodded thoughtfully. "Then let's start with questions. They're easy once you get the hang of them." Maggie raised an eyebrow. "Questions? Like what?" "Try this," Max instructed. "Ask me what I'm doing right now." "What are you doing right now?" Maggie repeated hesitantly. "Good," Max praised. "See? That's a basic question in English." "Now I'll answer. I'm sitting on the couch." Maggie blinked. "That's it." "That's it," Max confirmed. "Simple, right? Now switch roles. I'll ask and you answer." "What are you doing right now?" I'm talking to a cat," Maggie said, laughing nervously. Max grinned. "Exactly. Perfect sentence structure." Maggie started to relax. "So, I just need to remember that pattern. What are you? Plus whatever someone is doing. Bingo, Max said. And if you want to offer help, you can say, "Can I help you?" Easy, right? Can I help you? Maggie repeated slowly. Great. That's a useful phrase for everyday situations, Max said proudly. You can use it at work, at home, or even with strangers. Maggie felt a flicker of hope. Maybe learning English wouldn't be so impossible after all. Not with Max by her side. The next afternoon, Maggie sat cross-legged on the living room floor with Max lounging nearby. She held a notebook in her hands, eager but nervous. So, what's the plan today, Teacher Max? Maggie teased. Max stretched lazily. Glad you asked, Student Maggie. Today, we're going to practice conversations. Real-life stuff. Maggie chuckled. Like what? Buying cat food at the store? Exactly, Max said, flicking his tail. Picture this. We're in a pet shop. I'm the store clerk and you're the customer. Ready? Okay, I guess, Maggie said, straightening up. Max cleared his throat dramatically. Hello, ma'am. Can I help you? Maggie hesitated before responding. Yes, please. I'm looking for, cat food. Max nodded approvingly. Good start, but be confident. Say it again, louder. Maggie took a deep breath. Yes, please. I'm looking for cat food. Perfect, Max beamed. Now let's continue. What kind of cat food do you need? I need something for a very picky cat, Maggie said with a grin. Max laughed. Well played. That's exactly the kind of sentence you'll need when talking to humans. Let's try another variation. They spent the next few minutes improvising different dialogues. Maggie grew more comfortable with each round, her words flowing more naturally. This is actually fun, Maggie admitted. I never thought practicing English could be like this. Max flicked his tail proudly. That's the secret. Practice doesn't have to be boring. As they wrapped up the exercise, Maggie couldn't help but smile. She felt lighter, as though a small barrier had been lifted from her path. Thanks, Max, she said softly. I'm really learning. You're welcome, Max said with a playful gleam. But don't get too comfortable. Tomorrow's lesson will be even better. The sun was setting, casting golden light through the windows as Maggie sat on the couch, scribbling notes in her notebook. Max lounged beside her, his tail swaying gently back and forth. You know, Maggie said thoughtfully, a few days ago, I would have never imagined learning English with a talking cat. Max gave a mock gasp. Are you saying I'm not normal? Maggie laughed. Not even close. But seriously, she continued, I'm starting to feel less scared about making mistakes. Talking to you makes it easier. That's because you're practicing without worrying about being judged, Max explained. That's the key. Just speak, make mistakes, and learn from them. Maggie nodded. I guess it's like when I first learned to ride a bike. I fell 100 times, but I kept trying. Exactly, Max agreed. And now, you're doing the same with English. Each conversation builds your confidence. Maggie smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. Thanks, Max. I couldn't have done this without you. Max flicked his tail smugly. Of course not. I'm a genius, after all. Rolling her eyes, Maggie closed her notebook. Well, Mr. Genius, what's next? More practice, more adventures, and definitely more conversations, Max promised. We're just getting started. Maggie grinned. Sounds like a plan. As the room grew quieter, Maggie felt a renewed sense of purpose. Her journey to learn English was far from over. But now she had a talking cat, and a growing confidence to guide her along the way. And that made all the difference.